All right, so I'm not going to make much mention of starting your midterm. Some of you may. Alina? Great. Okay, so we are back on schedule today. As I just mentioned, we did a detour last week to get you guys started on your midterm. I hope that the extra lab day on Thursday helped get you caught up with whatever. I should have used the extra lab day to get caught up on grading. I'm the one who needs the extra day now. Maybe I don't assign anything this week so I can just get caught up on grading. Wouldn't that be great? It'll just be a little assignment, I promise. It'll just be a little one. Yeah, there you go. So this week we're going to be looking over annotation, and if you look at your syllabus, I'm actually going to pull it up here. When I say up here, it's in a screen you can't see. I don't want to go through and find it over here, but we're going to be going over dimensions, keynotes, and text formatting. And one thing I didn't put on here, which I should have, this is like one of the main things we talk about, are room labels. So room labels and room names. That'll actually be where we start our lecture. And then on Thursday, I just have one thing. It's title block editing. And this is where we really do get a lot of maybe flow between these two classes. So as I keep mentioning, I have really changed the order of the classes this semester. I'm hoping we can cover it in 2 days. If we can't cover it in 2 days, everything's essentially going to move down. If you're looking at the schedule, the first weeks of March, that first week of March is basically in-class work days, and then the two classes after that. So that gives me some flex time so that you guys can still work. But if I need to kind of play catch up in order to not rush into things, then I'll have some classes built in for these to kind of overflow. So I'll really be looking for your feedback over the next couple days, the next couple classes. If it was too fast and we need to go back and do a review, let me know, because we do have those days built in. Carol?
There is an assignment currently due during spring break.
I will move that. So a lot of times when you copy stuff over from a previous semester, and also assignments that are dead from like 2 years ago, resurrect. If you're in my digital graphics class, there was one that came up and 3 people turned stuff in. I was like, why are they turning this in? We haven't done this yet. So it happens. I try my best to catch it. Do you need to log in?
I'm logging right now.
Oh, amazing. Okay, it worked. Wow. All right, we'll take it. Okay, so whenever you hop on, just go ahead and open up the modern 2-bedroom. Okay. Oh, no, sorry, no. Okay, so I'm going to start off by talking about room tags and rooms in general. The reason why I wanted to start off with room tags is they are more than just annotation. So everything that we're about to do is pretty straightforward. Like a dimension is a dimension, a keynote is a keynote, but a room label is more than just a room label. There's actually some BIM components that go along with the room label. And to start us off, we will be in the architecture menu. Am I not projecting? What? Oh, that's why you could get in. I must have stopped it for someone else and then not gotten back on. I know that look when people start looking around like, do you see it? I don't see it. At least I was recording. So we're going to start off in the architecture menu. And what I'd like to do is the toolbar that we'll be working in today is room and area right here. And the shortcut for putting in a room label is RM. So I'm just going to kind of hover my mouse over here so you can see that. And what I'd like you guys to do is just type in RM and then just start moving your cursor without clicking through your tiny house. So I'm going to start over here in kind of like the larger living room. Do you see that there's kind of like an X that comes off of it? Tell me what you notice about the X. Do you see how it's just trying to stay within the boundary of that room? Now, one thing that might be cheating with mine, let me put in an opening here, because most of you guys have an opening right there, right? Let me also insert that opening, because mine might be behaving differently because I don't have an opening there. Okay, let me do that one more time. So RM. Okay, so even with that opening, let me move this out of the way. So take a look at even the border of my walls, or the boundary. Do you see how it's kind of highlighting in blue? So Revit is trying its best to find out the essentially the bounding box of the room that you're in. So when we hop into the bathroom, it's looking for walls and doors, essentially. Anything that's closed off. And it's doing that same thing in the bedroom. So what we can do now in the bedroom, I'm going to go ahead and place a room label. I'm also going to do it in our laundry room, and then in the bathroom as well. So this is where our plans, and then I hit escape to stop placing, but this is where our plans start to get really filled with information, aka messy, because we're going to be adding a whole bunch of stuff today. So my screen should hopefully look like your screen, right? Did your rooms go in as 1, 2, and 3? Okay, so I'm going to talk about the actual numbering of the rooms a little bit later. For now, we'll just do the 1, 2, 3. What I want to focus on is the actual label. So let's go ahead and do some basic edits. This isn't a room, right? This is like our master bedroom. So if we wanted to change the name, similar to what we did in our elevation markers, remember how first we had to click on it to select it and then click on it again to change the name? It's that same thing. I'll do it one more time. So click on it to select the room label, and then click on it again near the room name to edit it. So here, if I wanted to, I'm going to see if master bedroom fits. You could even call it M bedroom, whatever, but that's how it goes in. This is also an important point in time to check what scale your drawings are at. So I am going to assume that whatever scale your drawings are in right now are the scale that you're putting it on the sheet, right? I've noticed some people make the mistake of they're working in this view, and I've done this before so you guys can more easily see some of the stuff on my screen, and I say, okay, I'm going to change this down to a different scale. So let me go to 1/2 inch. See how that made everything smaller, right? But that also means that when you go from 1/4 to 1/2, now it's going to be twice as big on the sheet. And on a floor plan, you don't need it to be twice as big. You don't need it at 1/2 inch. Really, for a floor plan, 1/4 inch is where you want to be. Okay? So watch out for that, because really on our screen, we want to see what we're going to get when we place it on the sheet. Okay? There could be some firms, especially now that sheet sizes are getting so bigger, they might work in 1/2 inch. I'm not sure. But just know that because I am so bound by the national CAD standards, I typically just stick to those. So your floor plans are typically between 1/8 inch. If it's a really big space, you can only get it in an 1/8 inch. So 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, and even I want to say, is it 3/16 of an inch? That's right around there. Where are you? Yep, 3/16. So these three right here are appropriate for floor plan sizes. Even if it looks small on your sheet, that's just the scale that we typically work in. So we've got our master bedroom, and you can see here that it's telling us the square footage, which is kind of nice, but sometimes it's also somewhat unnecessary, because a lot of times people don't tell you, like, I need my bedroom to be 500 square feet. They might tell you my bedroom needs to be 20 feet by 20 feet, but it's rare that they give you an actual square footage. So sometimes this is helpful if you are working with somebody like a flooring contractor, or even maybe if your owner wants to know how big the square footages are, or if you want to know, it's helpful to have those on. But what I'd like to do is show you how to turn those off. And in fact, would you guys take 30 seconds to try to figure it out on your own? I'm going to look at my timer here. So I'm giving you 30 seconds. 10 more seconds? 30 seconds seems so long to me. I know Lindy got it because she's raising the roof. Good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and catch up with you guys now. So when you click on the room tag, hopefully you started by at least looking up at the properties bar. And when you pull down, you can change it to just room tag or room tag with volume, not computed. I don't have a ceiling, so volume is the whole thing. That's why it's mad there. But typically I like just doing the the one that I just said without the square footage. I don't use it that often. So you can see I changed the one, but not the other two. Let's do one other little exercise. So if we wanted to change all of them, and in fact, even just doing two is fine. What we can do is walk through this with me. I think we've only done this once, and we did it really, really quickly. Maybe the second or third class. So click on one of your room labels, okay? And instead of going through and doing each one individually like we just did, we can right click, and you see where it says select all instances in entire project? My brain is trying to think so quickly. I'm like, what were we trying to change? I can't remember. But we've done this before. It's just been a long time, and it wasn't necessarily part of the lecture. It just happened to come up that day. So this is a great way to select more than one thing so that you can come up here and quickly change its properties. I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm going to click on the room label, right click on it, select all instances. I'm going to do in entire project. So when you do the entire project, it's going to look at all of your views. So the first level, the second level, maybe the site plan, everything is fair game when you do an entire project. And then come over here and room tag. And I just remembered, we went over this when we were trying to select walls and change the walls from generic to something else. So I'm just going to show you that again real quick. So I've got my wood siding, and let's pretend for whatever reason, see how I did my tab and my click and it selected all of them? You guys know that I'm magic and lucky. That might not always happen for you, right? So let's say that didn't work. You can click on one, right click, select all instances, an entire project, see how it grabbed all of them, and then I can go to my properties and change it. So again, a nice way to select everything to change their properties to something else. So coming back to our room label, if we wanted to move it in the room, we can click on it and see how down here there is the four-sided arrow that comes up. You actually have to click on there to move it around. If you try to grab it anywhere else, do you see how it, well, if you click on it on its name, it assumes you want to edit the name. And you just have to be careful not to click on it on the number. So pretty much anywhere around this outline is a good place to grab it. Okay? And then you can move it around. Now, looking at our bathroom, it is getting really tight in here. So again, not even 30 seconds, 15 seconds to see if you guys can pull it out of the room and then maybe fix it. I might get mad at you, but like I said, 15 seconds. At this point, it's only going to be about 10 more seconds. Okay. So go ahead and look at my screen and tell me if this happened. When you tried to move it out of the room, did it get a question mark and then give you an error? Hey, you're outside of the room. And then it says move to room or okay. So if I move it to the room, it's just going to put it back where it was. If I click OK, it'll stay there, but it's totally confused. Because now, the room that it was trying to calculate, it's outside of it. So it doesn't know what to calculate. It's kind of out in this open area. If I move it over here, it's still that same thing. because it's like I'm out here, but I thought I was calculating in here. So what we can do right now, while I have it selected, do you guys see anything up here that might help me? Yeah, if I turn on leader, that's just enough for Revit to know that, okay, even though I'm moving you outside of the room, this leader line will take you back where you belong. Okay, it's very codependent. So turn on that leader and it knows where to go. And in fact, I'm going to move this all the way in the room, not just in the bathtub. So we've used leader lines before. Do you see how I still have this one on? Okay, I can turn this one off, and I'm pretty sure they do this really nice thing now where if you right click on it a special way, it'll actually move it back. I'm not going to cheat. Maybe it's just with dimensions. Sorry, let me see. Select host. Oh, I don't see it. It might. I'm going to do it again with dimensions. Dimensions have a way where you can right click on it and it moves it back to where it's supposed to go. So let's go ahead and put let's add room labels even in the hallway. Let's do you guys have your kitchen in here? You guys have your kitchen. So let's add all of the other room labels. So I'm going to click on, you can do RM or create similar, either way. I'm going to add it in the hallway. And actually, before I add it in the hallway, see how it's still coming up with the square footages, right? I'm just going to pull on my properties menu and change it to the regular room tag. So I don't have to go back and edit it. So see how it just says room tag now? And I'm going to do one for my kitchen and then one for this living room area. It will get mad at you. Multiple rooms are in the same enclosed region. I'm going to go ahead and say okay for now. And then take a minute to go ahead and label everything too. Sounds like most of you guys have your room labels, yeah? Okay, now let's do a little bit more troubleshooting. So let's start with this first situation right here. If I grab the kitchen, you can see that its boundary is this whole space. And do you guys notice that it's red and not blue like the other rooms? So let me click off of it. See how the laundry, oh, laundry is also red, hold on. Okay, interesting. I was hoping it was giving me an error, but it's not. But we know that these two rooms are redundant, right? So what we're going to do to kind of help it out, not every room will have walls to separate them. But do you see right next to room, there's this room separator, okay? What we're gonna do now is we're gonna click on room separator, and you can see that it's a draw function. So we're just gonna draw a line or an area that will separate these two. So I'm actually just gonna go from this corner of the door over, and if your kitchen spills out of that area, just draw it wherever it makes sense. Okay, and then with mine, I have to make it all the way to the wall or it still won't work. Okay, and then when you're done, just go ahead and hit escape. And then just to check on it, click on your kitchen and your living room to see if it's distinguishing between those two spaces. And I think one of the easiest things I could have done too would have been to leave these as the room tag with area, because now that I can see that they're distinct from one another. Did that work for you guys? Okay, so it worked in the sense that we have a room boundary, right? But do you see how it kind of put this threshold here that we don't necessarily want to see? Okay, give me 2 ways to hide this line. Yep, one is EH. What if you're going to have a whole bunch of room separator lines in your project? Where would you go for that? Yep. Will you guys look through VV to see if you can find it? It's a little tricky. It's okay if you don't find it. I'm looking at my clock again, about 15 seconds, then I'll come show you. So what you'd want to do is come down to lines and hit the plus sign. And then as soon as you hit the plus, I'm going to give you a minute again, including myself. Do you see where we're looking now? So we expand lines, and do you guys see room separation in brackets? Okay. Go ahead and turn that off, and then I'm going to hit apply while I'm in here. So here's the line now. If I hit apply, you can see that it turns off that line. So now every room separation line that you draw won't be visible in your project. And I think that's the way to go. Don't make thresholds that don't exist. If you want to draw a threshold, I would draw that separately with the detail line.
Click override? No.
Override? Nope. Let me go back. So I think, let's go back. So lines, go ahead and expand it. And then under room separation, you just uncheck here.
Okay. And that's it?
Uh-huh. That's it. No override. So far, so good? Okay. So just to recap really quickly where we are. How do you draw a room tag? What is the shortcut?
RM.
Good. If you don't want to use RM, what menu do you need to be in? Annotate or architecture?
Architecture.
Okay. I still go to annotate because I'm like, it's a room label. Oh wait, it's an architecture. I forget that it's part of a BIM category. Good. If you wanted to move it outside of a room and it gets mad at you, what are you missing? Good, the leader nut line. Not all rooms are bound by walls, right? So if you wanted to create a room in an open space, what are the lines that you need to look for? Good. If you don't want to show the thresholds or the boundaries of that room, what menu do you go in? Okay, and then once you're in VV, where is room separator hidden? Okay. Yep. Yep. So you'll go to model, lines, and then room separator. Good. That's kind of everything that we've done in a nutshell so far. Now that we've got some room labels in, let me talk about how I like to label rooms, and then you guys can decide your own standard later, but for these projects, let's kind of stick with this one. So typically in a project, we don't go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we'll go like 100, 200, 300. And the 1, 2, and the 300 designates the floor that it's on. So in a flat home like this, it's really not a big deal. But when you're doing even a building like this, it does help to know that, you know, room 401 is up on the 4th floor, right? Like I hope that most people realize that when I say 40 whatever, it's up on the 4th floor and not the 4th wing on a, I bet an airport would do that. An airport would totally mess with us and name it something weird. So the other thing that I also like to try and do is pick either clockwise or counterclockwise and kind of stick with that. But also knowing that sometimes your client will come through and kind of chisel out a new room in the middle of your project and it'll get out of order, and that's okay. So what I would do for this project is starting in the living room, I would call this living 100. And then I will go to my kitchen and call it 101. Bathroom 102. Master 103. Whoops. And if this happens to you, you're just in the family editor. I do that all the time on accident, so I'm just going to go ahead and close it, and I'm not going to save it. Now, why am I labeling a hallway? Whenever you do a residence, they want smoke detectors in all of the bedrooms and hallways. So if your hallways aren't labeled, your code official will say, make that a room so we can say that you need a smoke detector in hallway 105. So if you had a second floor, would you start with 106? No, you'd go with 200, 201. Yep. Good. Now let's do something a little bit different. Now we're kind of jumping into troubleshooting. At this point, I'm going to assume that all of you guys know how to do a room label, how to move it around, relabel it, and add a leader. Can I assume that? Okay. Let's jump into something a little bit further. You're impatient or whatever, you're working really fast, and you need to move the kitchen label out of the way. So you delete it. Okay, go ahead and delete that one. And then let's read what the warning error was. A room tag was deleted, but the corresponding room still exists. You can place another tag for the room using the room tag or select the room and delete it. What it's trying to say is even though I just deleted the room tag, if I am really careful, do you see that that room is still there? So the room tag is gone, but the room still exists. So if you look back at our architecture menu, do you see that there's another shortcut called tag room? Okay. If I use that RT, do you see that even though it's deleted, it remembers what it was called? Okay. Here's a good warning. Let's say you forget that happens, like it's a month from now and you've completely forgotten we talked about this. You forgot about tag room. If you go to place another room, can you see that when you go to place it, there's already a room there? Some people are still like, I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe it's my graphic card, and they place it. Revit will even say multiple rooms are in the enclosed region. Like it's trying to warn you again, like this is already a room. I wish it would just say at this point, use the shortcut, tag room. Like it says everything but that. Like just tell us what to do, man. Or even say, do you want me to tag it? So at this point, I'm gonna hit cancel. And then I'm gonna hit escape just to get out of there. And then if I do RT, that used to be TG. I'm confused. What is it now? RT, okay. It's not what I use. Okay, so now RT, it places it back in there. So these are two big questions that I will ask you guys. If you already created a room and you delete it, which one do you use to place a new room label? Room or tag room? Tag room, yep. And then what's the shortcut for tag room? RT. I don't know why my brain's having such a hard time with that. Okay, RT's the new one. All right. Good. RT to place that in there. So, there's so many ways of knowing, but can you guys remember one of the ways that Revit will kind of warn you that there's already a room there? Kind of tells you, right? Yeah. So we've got the graphic indication, you know, the X or the boundary of the room is already there. So it's like, yep, there's a room here, move on along. But if you don't get the hint and you still try to click in there, it will tell you. Okay, so we don't ever want more than one room in the same area. We typically just want one room in that area. All right, and later on in the semester, I think we're at least a month away from this, we'll be going over schedules, and almost everything in our schedule ties into our room label. So what you'll do when you generate a schedule, it will generate a schedule for all the walls in the master bedroom, all the walls in the kitchen, and it'll tie into those. So it'll see that the kitchen, the south wall, you know, it'll have it in there, but it'll also realize that this is actually part of the living room, if that makes sense. So you can go through and schedule everything out. So we'll continue to build upon this a little bit later. Now, let me look up here for a minute. We have more to go over in dimensions, but I'm going to come back to it. It has to do with text formatting. So instead of doing dimension text formatting, let me jump into Keynotes, and then we'll do like all of our text formatting at once. So whether we fit it in today or move it to our next class, let's keep going with how we can work with this stuff kind of out of the box. Any questions or clarifications on room labels before we move on? No? Okay. Well, we got through it in 30 minutes, which is pretty good. So let's move on to the next part. And for this, we do want to go to the Annotate menu. There we go. Now, when we use Keynotes in Revit, it might be different than how you do it with the firm. So I just wanted to put that out there. If you work for a larger or maybe a commercial firm, or maybe even a smarter firm that's just set up to do things more somewhat automatically in Revit, if they've spent some time building libraries, I just wanted to point out that there is a button called Keynote. Do you guys see that right here? And then we are not going to be using this. We typically use text, but let's spend just a minute here talking about how Keynote works and kind of why we don't use it in this class, okay? So everybody go ahead and click on Keynote for me. And I know we all have a toilet, right? Okay, so click on your toilet and you can see that it's generating a Keynote for us, right? So click to place it, and then one more time for the leader. So you're gonna have a few clicks, and then this whole new menu pops up. Now, at this point, how many of you guys have taken a class where you've talked about specifications yet? Yeah? You know about it. Okay. So many of you guys might not know what specs are. So this is kind of why we glaze over it in this class. I just don't have the time to teach you about specs, to be completely honest. But in the AEC industry, so architecture, engineering, and construction, almost everybody is well versed in what's called specifications. So as a designer, architect, or interior designer, your contract with your client really comes down to the drawings that you give them, the material book that you give them, and then also the specification. That's your contract with them and the contractor. So think about it. When you get hired to do a job, you're not the one that's going to go through and build out everything and put up the wallpaper and put down the tile. You might be. There's a lot of like all-in-one firms, but typically that's not the students we're teaching, right? So what you have to think about is how do all of your ideas get translated to where a contractor or a subcontractor can actually build it? Are you guys with me on that thought process? So that's one question. The other question is, how do you hold them accountable? So you say you want this carpet, that's $27 a square yard, and you're totally fine with that. And that's what they put in their budget, but then you show up on site and they did like this RC Willey $2 a yard special installed for free. How do you hold them accountable? It all comes down to your drawings and specifications. What did you call out in those drawings and specifications? So to help us kind of organize our thoughts, if you come down here, so I just pointed to a toilet, right? So we want to go to plumbing, division 22, and then we hit the plus sign. And do you guys see, I'm so blind.
Plumbing fixtures.
I can't see that.
The bottom one. In the
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Plumbing fixtures, thank you. Yep, go ahead and expand it one more time. And we are looking for a water closet or anything with the word toilet in it. There we go. So water closet and toilet, bidet, urinal, any one of those things. So pick any of those and then hit OK. And it puts that keynote down for you. This is really specific, okay? I'm going to hop online. This is like way more than you need to know, but let me do, I don't know if I can find anything online. Okay, so let's see if this is a true one. Yep. So this is what a specification section for plumbing actually looks like. Now this is going way into the system. Water softeners, plumbing fixtures. There it is right here. Let me do a quick Google search of this. And this isn't uncommon. Again, if you work in a larger commercial firm, there is somebody, maybe even you, in charge of putting all these together. So here we go. So here's our plumbing fixture specification. Most of them look like this. Some firms might change the font, but usually they just look exactly like this. And most specifications are 3 parts. So part 1 general is going to go over what are we talking about. Urinals, water closets, lavatories, all these things here. Part 2 talks about the actual products. Okay, so when I talked about how do you hold them accountable, you could do it in a keynote and call it good, or it could be in a spec where you say Kohler, American Standard, Chicago Faucet, all of these things here. And then in part 3, it's the, I think it's called the execution. I always call it installation on accident. Do you see how it's giving so many different things here? The lab faucets, the flow rate of the faucet, it's centered on 8 inches. The shower sizes, the floor, you're really specifying exactly what you want here. And then part 3, execution. This is going to talk about how you want it to be installed. So again, how do you hold your contractor accountable for how things get installed, right? Especially in like wet locations. What if they went through and just used regular gypboard and then a year later you find that there's like mold everywhere, right? I'm sure somewhere in here it talks about having waterproof gypboard or green board. Connections, field quality. I won't go through that, but this is what a specification is. So in larger firms, again, and then just firms who have had the time to go through and create a library, they will use these. So that means that whoever is looking at this, they don't just see a toilet, but they're going to go through that spec book. And when I say spec book, some of them are like this and 3 volumes of that. They'll go through, find that number, and read exactly what it is. In this class, we're going to say toilet, or toilet by Kohler. Kohler, model number, blah, 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 right? And it just, you'll see everything across the spectrum. That's where we get the keynote. Now, let's talk about where it comes from in our class. So that was kind of a big detour, but with many of you guys going on your internships and working in the field, this is what you might see. Tara, I'm going to put you on the spot. What kind of keynotes have you seen? Do you see spec section keynotes or just call outs? Both?
Depends on what it is.
Okay, cool. Now let's go back to the annotate menu. And for the rest of our keynotes, if you want to go through and research the specification sections, I am completely fine with that. But if you also just want to do generic text like we're about to do, that's fine too. I just want keynotes on there. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on text. Save your project because it's time. And you can see here in our modify or place text menu, we have, just regular text if you ever needed to put regular text in a project. This is how you'd put it in. And then we have different types of leaders. So we have one that has 2 segments. We have a single segment, and I'm just hovering on these so you can see what they look like. I think they're pretty self-explanatory. And then we've got a curve. Right? I typically do the 2 segmented one. And I'm really picky with how these go in. So I'm going to do the master bedroom just to show you kind of what I look for. And then we'll go from there. So with mine, let's do the 2 segment. I'm actually going to have it aligned right. And I do want it at the top right. And you can change all of these after too. So I'm going to label everything in my bedroom over here off to the side. So your first click is what you're pointing to. So my dresser. My second click is that little leader line, the nubbin. And here I can just write dresser. And then when I'm done, I can hit escape or I can keep going. Now take a look at my screen real quick.
When
So
did it start allowing you to type?
look at my screen, I'm going to do it again. Okay, so click to place it. Now with this one, I'm going to use my tracking. See how it tells me, okay, that's where that one's lined up. Track it again. Do you see the blinking cursor? I'm going to write side table, typical, because there's 2 of them. And then I just click off of it and it goes on. Now I'll just do these 2. Do 2 of them and then I'll wait for you guys here. And if you need me to show it to you one more time, let me know and I can help you.
You would want us to tag the bed as well?
Yeah, just do 2 things and then for the next ones, I'm going to show you how you can kind of copy these down if you want to make life a little bit easier. Okay. Now for the next one, if you guys are ready for your third, one thing that I like to do just to make sure that they're all lined up, I could just come here and start a new one, like create similar, and point and do the 3 clicks. But what I think is easier is to click on one, do CC for copy, and then click and drag it down. And again, I wish there was a better preview for you to see exactly where it's going. The one thing that I like to do, let me do it one more time. So CC, I like to grab it from a corner so at least I know where the top is, right? So where my cursor is over here, I know that that's the top of it. So I'm going to drag it down to about here. And then I can grab these drag points and move them more accurately to where I want them to go. If you want to move just the label itself, you can click here. Or if you want to move the whole thing, I'm waiting for that move command. Here we go. It's so picky. All right, so take a look at my screen real quick. To move just the note, you click on the drag area, okay? And it even says drag on it, okay? But let's say you have an extra one here, you didn't want it there at all. To move the whole thing, you grab it by the leader line, and then you can move it somewhere else. So it might take a few times to get comfortable with exactly how to move these. It won't be unlike getting used to your interior elevation labels, right? There's so many different places to pick and move from. You just have to kind of have some practice and remember which one to click on. Okay, so again, I copied this one down, CC. Now, a couple rules of thumb. I like to have everything lined up as much as possible. So these leaders, the text, this drives me crazy. Right? You just don't need to do that. It does, but
Or when like they're like crossing over each
That was the next thing. You can never, ever, ever, ever have them cross. So let's say for whatever reason, I put my dresser there. Let's see. So see how dresser is crossing, right? Don't ever have them cross. Move one down or move one up so that they're no longer crossing. There we go. Okay, so no crossing, and try to get them as close and aligned as possible. What I'd like to do now, I'm going to pause the lecture for a minute. I want you guys to go back to the wall. Pretend these are walls. You might not love this font, you might not love this style. Can you guys spend about a minute this time and see if you can customize at least one of these for me? Okay, I'm going to hit pause. I'm going to give you a minute. All right, so I'm going to hop in here now and we'll start the process together. So I'm going to grab one of these, and the first thing I'm going to click on is Edit Type. That sounds familiar, right? Edit Type. Before I make any changes, what should I do first? Let's duplicate it. Let's call this one 330 seconds SLCC. And that way you'll know that this is the one that you made for school. Is this familiar now? If it wasn't before? Okay. Now in here, I wish there was a preview, but there's not. I'm going to pull this to the side to see if maybe I can apply it later. Let me make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to leave the color as black, but what I would like to change is the leader arrowhead. So right now it's an arrow 30 degree, and if I click in there and pull down, I really wish they'd let us see what these look like. I'm going to go ahead, let me find a good place for this. That's good enough. I'll click on, I don't want to click OK yet. I might just have to keep coming back and forth. Sorry, guys. So I changed the arrowhead, and then the font, I'm going to change this to Century Gothic. I am a Century Gothic fan. It looks almost exactly like Arial, but just go with me on this one. And those are really the only two things I'm going to change. I like the size, I like the tab size. So really the only thing I changed was the arrowhead and the font. I think that Revit did a really good job when it sized all of the text to read it clearly on a plan, so I'm not going to mess with that. And then if I hit OK, you can subtly see the difference between this one here and that one right there. Did that work for you guys? Yeah? Okay, doing a quick review, can you guys use a shortcut to change all of your other notes to match this one? I'm going to give you a minute, less than a minute, like 10 seconds to see if you can remember, and then I'll do it too. Okay, so what I'll do for this one is click on one of them, right click, select all instances, an entire project, and see how it grabbed these two. I only have those two, you guys might have more. And then what I want to do in my properties, I'm going to pull down, and do you see how I've got the SLCC? I'm going to change it to that.
Only selected the ones I changed. It didn't select the other ones.
So the ones you changed. So if you right clicked on a one that you had already changed, it will just get those. I clicked on the ones that hadn't been changed yet because they're not part of the same. It's kind of like a Mean Girls club. Like you really have to conform. Yep. No, not even close.
Thank you.
Yep. So that was where we kind of go. Remember, this is a fundamental class, so this is beyond, you know, the basics, but it is something that I think you guys would like to learn how to do. So that is room labeling. Now, for the next part, this one gets even a little bit more advanced. but I'd like to do this before we go into dimensions. Yeah, we still have an hour. Do you guys want to take a break before we go into the next part?
Sure.
Yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll go into how to change a room label. All right. So what we're about to do is really similar to what we just did. Like we went through and we changed a text style, but it's going to be different because when we are working with room tags are actually part of a family. And so to change a family, it's going to be a little bit different than just clicking here and going to edit type. Do you see how by doing that, it basically doesn't really give us any information as far as like the text and things like that? So to change a room tag, we're going to do what we kind of always do on accident, but now that I want you to do it, it's not going to work. We want to double click on it or click on it and go to edit family so we can meet here in the actual family. You guys with me on that? Okay. No, that's fine. That's why I ask. I'm going to close out of this. So to get here, click on any room tag, and do you see how edit family pops up?
Yes.
Okay. Or double click on it. Either way, it should get you there. And again, most of us do this by accident, but this time, this is what we want to do. This will be totally new than what we've done before.
If my Revit is not like doing anything, do I need to exit out of it?
Oh, shoot. Are you stuck?
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah, do this for me. Down at the bottom where you have the Revit bar, right click on that and try to close it, and let's hopefully it saved something for you.
Okay.
If that doesn't work, hit Control Alt Delete for me right now. Let's see if you can get it to do. Now go to. I might have to stop projecting for this part because it looks like it wants to do it on this screen. What's going on? Let me pause. Now I'll hit record. All right, so we've never done this before, but let's just think about what we've done in the past. We are about to make some changes to an entire family, right? So what we do in here is going to change everything. In the past, when we have gone into edit type, what have we done?
duplicate.
We've duplicated it, right? Now, duplicate isn't an option in here because this is its own file. If you look up here, it's called roomtag.rfa. This is the file. So if we can't go to a button that says duplicate, can you think of something else we can do instead? You may have done it in other applications. We would do a save as in this case, right? So we can go up to File, Save As, and see how family comes up. This is going to be our way of duplicating this so we don't affect every other name tag in your entire Revit library. So not just this project, but every other project. Okay, so did you guys follow me on that? We can't duplicate it, right, because there's not a duplicate button. But we're going to do a save as, and that makes a copy of it while preserving this one. Okay, let's do that first. So File, Save As, Family. Oh, this sucks. Sorry. Okay. I was like, oh, please be there. This is going to take me a minute. So at home, it should get you, you know, the folders where everything lives like all nicely when we go to load a component? That is where I would hope we would be. Where are you guys? I am in documents. Downloads. Okay, so we're all basically not where we need to be. Give me a sec. I'm going to find the network path for you guys, and then that's where we're going to meet. So I'm assuming I'm still here. Nope, not there. We need, I'm looking for there's a folder where it's going to say, oh wait, you know, I think I know where to go. Nope, bear with me. So what I need you guys to do first, hang on, not here, options, work sharing, okay, here. We need to do this real quick. So hop out of there for me. Okay. Yep, and we're back here. We haven't saved yet. In your Windows menu, do you see where it says type here to search? In there, just start writing the words hidden files, and this show hidden files option should pop up. Let's go there. And somewhere in here. Okay, change settings to show hidden and system files. Let me go to show settings. Let's see if they are. Okay, do you see how here there's that little circle where it says don't show hidden files, folders, or drives? Will you click the one below it? Show hidden files, folders, and drives. So you'll probably have to do this at home too. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So again, the way that I got here, I went to the search and I typed in hidden. So show hidden files. And unfortunately, it's not just like right here. And this is what's so lame because this is checked off. So to me, it's like, oh, it should be working. But click on show settings. And we want to show hidden files, folders, and drives. Were you guys able to find that?
All my little menus keep popping up underneath where you're projecting. It's okay.
Oh, okay, good.
Where are you? We say you can move her.
Okay, no.
Either one.
Before I get out of here, though, does anybody need to see that again, or you guys got it okay? If there's a faster way of doing this, if there's like a Windows guru, let me know. This is just kind of my way of, let's just go search for it and figure it out. Okay, now that I'm back in Revit, this won't be any more graceful, but at least I can see more folders now. So I'm going to go back to Family, and I'm going to go back to Nawabi. Ah, this is the folder. Do you see that now I can see app data? And it's kind of grayed out. Like, it's not grayed out, but it's a really white, pale yellow. So again, I pulled down. You'll see your username that you used to log into your computer. Got it? App data? Okay. Now, before I click to the next thing, this is how you guys are going to let me know. Say no if you're not there yet, and then I'll know to stop. So after app data, we're going to go to hopefully local, Autodesk. Yep, I said it wasn't going to be any easier, but Revit. I hope this isn't all in vain. We're going to see. Revit 2020. I think this is all going to be in vain. Yep. Okay, this wasn't it. Sorry, guys. I'm going to look one other place. Sorry, one sec. Ignore me for a minute. I'm going to keep recording just so you guys can watch this later and know that even the pro is like, what the hell?
To make sure we don't go down those same rabbit holes.
There you go. No. Oh, Windows, why are you so complicated? I'm going to do a quick search to kind of help me. I'll look up. I'm pretty sure the folder I'm looking for is called RVT. And you're in here somewhere, I just don't know where you are.
Is it program data Autodesk RVT 2020?
It might be. Did you find the RVT folder? Yes. So it's under program data. And Autodesk? Oh, shame on me. Okay, I must have typed it in wrong. I was in here earlier. Okay, let me keep going. I just want to make sure. Libraries, Imperial.
Should we go into app data?
Not yet. Sorry, give me a sec. I don't want to lead you down the wrong rabbit hole again. Room tag. Boom. Okay. I'm going to pull this down. Oh, don't crap out on me now. Okay, you guys will just have to read this. Usually I can pull down and it's a little bit easier to read. I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. So C drive, program data, and before I say the next thing, if you're not there yet, this is the part where you yell no, okay? Good. That's how we want to do it. Okay. So C drive, do you not see program data?
So I'm on my
did you unhid your folders, right? Okay. What do you have under C drive? I don't want to lose this. I'm going to keep that there. Let me go to Control N. Why do I don't know how. You found it? Or something? Good? Awesome. And then after that, look for Autodesk. Okay. And then RVT 2020. Never mind Revit or any, like Autodesk Revit. RVT 2020 is where this is hidden. Libraries? Yeah? US Imperial. Those are the units that we're looking for. We want feet and inches. And then annotations. So I'm going to go back real quick. Do these folders look familiar to you when you were loading components? Yeah, so we've seen these folders before just inside Revit. They hide them so that you can't easily delete them or whatever, right? But what we're looking for now is annotations, and this is where our room label is going to go. So you can see here, here's our generic room tag, and we're about to do a save as and call this room tag SLCC. All right, I'm going to move this off to the side so I don't lose it again. So File, Save As, Family. I'm going to start that whole process over again. So I'm going to come up here, C drive, and you can yell no at me again if I go too fast. And just notice here, you can really see program data is a hidden folder. Do you guys see that it's kind of grayed out? The mellow yellow. So program data, Autodesk, RVT 2020. Did I hear no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. Do you want me to pull down so you can see where I am?
See then program data.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just trying.
Mm-mm.
And then Autodesk.
Yep.
Okay.
And then once you're in Autodesk, RVT 2020. We should have packed snacks for this long trip we're taking. And then we want libraries. Yep. Annotations. Just about everything that you're looking for in Revit is here. They don't make it easy to find, but just about everything you want is here. Now before I come out of here, right, let me hang out here for just a minute. This is like a total side note, but we've cheated again in this semester. I've already shown you guys where to go download furniture and all the other stuff, right? If you want to make sure that that furniture is always in your Revit library, this is where you would save it. Does that make sense? So this is where Revit looks for all of the default stuff. So if you want your own default stuff, this is where you save it. You can just drag and drop it in there. This is just kind of a bonus little nugget. And now I'm moving on. If you didn't get that, oh well, we'll move on. Okay, I'm in Annotations, Room Tag, SLCC. Put the SLCC after. You don't want to be digging in here looking for SLCC room tag. Make sure all of your room tags are together. Room tag SLCC. My company is called Acronyms, so I'd have room tag acronym. Sometimes my company joins up with another company and we go by their name, so it would be room tag Carol, you know, so you could have several of them depending on the font you want to use. And then we hit save. And then see up here, room tag SLCC. Okay, now we're not going to override what was there before. And now we take a break and congratulate ourselves. But now we can start doing stuff that you're familiar with. So if I click on room name, right, we've got a label here to the side. And you see where it says edit? Okay, I'm going to click on that. And no, I'm trying to just look for the font. Sorry, guys. Let's do, create, insert, view, manage. I'm going to find it one day, I promise. And if you find it before me, I'll love ya. Oh, here we go. I think I found it. Label, edit type. Okay. It was where it should have been the whole time. Shame on me. I got distracted. So go ahead and click on Edit Type. Okay. And see how this is a family again? What do you think we should do before we change this bold type? Duplicate. And since we're working on SLCC, let's call it SLCC bold 1/8. You might not even need the bold. Just make sure the 1/8 is there so that we know at least the height of it. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll keep the bold for now. You might not like the look of the bold room label. Okay. And now in here, under the font, you can change the Arial. Since we're doing SLCC, let's make it Century Gothic, just so it all kind of matches. And see how bold is checked right here? I'm going to go ahead and keep it, but if you don't want to keep it, uncheck that and it'll just be a regular font style. Yep. Okay, so there's my first one. Am I done? I've got all this other stuff I need to change. So here, label 1/8, I don't just change the font, right? What do I do first? Yep. I'm going to duplicate it. So last semester, when I taught this class, it was kind of fun. It landed on Halloween. So I made everybody do a creepy font. I think it's probably still in. It's actually called Creepy. Oh, it's gone. Anyway, it was kind of fun. So the difference between the label, this one, and the room name is that the room name was bold. It's really the only difference. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And then down here, I've got volume. See how it's label 1/8? I just made an SLCC 1/8. So I don't need to duplicate that one because I already have a 1/8 inch label. And finding the square footage below it, you just have to move your mouse around until you get kind of the smaller box or the larger box for the volume, either one. So SLCC 1/8. And maybe here, maybe I do want my room label to be bold. So I can make that bold too. Either way. Everybody with me so far? Okay. So changing the font style is really similar to what we've done. We went to Edit Type, we duplicated it if we needed to duplicate it. The one extra step that we added here was the Save As, and then that really long file path. Okay, I'm going to do a screenshot of this and save it so that you guys, like in the, where can I put this? I'll put it somewhere. I don't know where. Maybe even at the end of our lecture, I will just make this like the screen. So if you just fast forward to the end of the lecture, it will be there. So if you're not in this class in the future, you can at least look at it here. Okay, I'll make sure to do that before we go. So now we want to load into project and close. And it's going to ask you, do you want to save changes? Absolutely. And I'm going to give you guys just about 10 seconds to figure out where it went and how you can update the room labels that are already in there. Okay, I'm going to hop in now. So I've got a room label here. See how it's a room tag? I should have room tag SLCC now, if it was loaded in properly. Can you see the subtle difference between the two? My A is a little bit taller, bold, not bold. Okay. Let me show you this review one more time. I'm kind of reading the room. Have you guys noticed that I'm not calling on you today? Doesn't seem like a day you want to be called on. So what I want to do now is click on one that's not the correct version, right? Right click, good. Right click and go to select all instances in entire project. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. That one's not. Oh yeah, I didn't change this one yet. So here's where I can cheat. If I hold shift, no, shift is minus. There's a tiny little minus. Is it control? Okay. I can add that in there too. That is how lazy I am. I don't want to go change another one. Lazy, efficient, whatever. And now it's saying multiple types are selected. And I can come here, room tag SLCC. Is it not loaded in there? So let's try this first. So click on one of your room tags and then pull down. Does it say just room tag? There's not another gray line? Okay, so what I want you to do is maybe go to File, and then on mine, do you see how in my recents I can see SLCC, RFA, the room tag? Yep, so go ahead and reopen it for me. And I think maybe what you did is you just closed it without clicking on load into project and close. So do that and then you'll definitely see it. So a lot of steps to that one. That is a very advanced move. And the only reason why I teach that to people is I saw so many projects where people easily changed their notes and their dimensions, but their room names didn't match, and it kind of bugged me. I'm like, well, if that's the only thing that doesn't match, let's just go over it. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it good. I know we've got like 50 more minutes, but I think that that was a good amount of information to throw to you guys. I did put dimensions in brackets, but what I'll do, I'm gonna save that for its own lecture, and I might add it to title blocks on Thursday. I think we can get through both of those on Thursday. And for today, what we can do, I will start, I'll let you guys decide. Let me do this first before I stop the recording. So just know that for this lecture, if you go to the end, you'll see this, and you can pause this, and I'm pretty sure when I pull down, it won't show me, no. But that's where you guys want to go. Okay, if you don't see program data, don't forget the hidden files. That's further back in the lecture. I won't go through that right now.